Hello there, right here, and today we will be looking at the new screaming goats and their ability to knock stuff around quite quickly. So with the newest snapshot, they made it so that the goats that scream, which are quite rare, now have a lot more likely chance of hitting something that's around them. Every normal goat that spawns in has a 2% chance of being special. These are screaming goats. They have this tag right here, which is called is screaming goat, and if it's set to 1, then when they make a noise, it's going to be a lot more high pitched than a normal goat, and it's going to sound like a scream rather than like a bleat. Now what's new about this snapshot is that these guys now are a lot more likely to hit things using this tag up here, which is called RAM cooldown ticks. This is how much time they have to wait before they attempt to hit something that is around them. So what this means is if we get special types of goats in our world, we can make sure that they will consistently try to attack things that are around them. You can see as soon as they put in these armor stands, they all get ready to go ram them about. But exactly how much faster is a screaming goat at ramming stuff around it compared to a normal goat? So here we got 9 armor stands in each of these platforms. That was a normal goat. This is a screaming goat using a custom egg that RetroDev made me. And we'll see how fast they are at clearing away the armor stand. Now the initial start for the goats can be quite a while, but once you get started, you can see that the screaming goat will go through his armor stands a lot faster. So you can see this guy was actually clearing them off quite fast until he ran himself over the edge. And this could be a bug. I don't think the goats are supposed to run off the edge when they hit something. In the time that this guy removed 4 armor stands, this guy actually removed 0. He moved 2 prior. That was during his cooldown. So with this new property of super active goats, can we use this in any way to make some farms? That's exactly what we spent a couple hours doing during my testing stream. Make sure you guys are following me on Twitch because I do stream every Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, discovering new things that you can do in your very own survival world. So first off, I thought maybe I can use this in my redstone list witch farm. This is where I had the Zoglins knocking off witches, and it's a very simple farm that doesn't take very long to build up and produces some amazing rates. So I went ahead and we put in some screaming goats in here, and we also have witches that are able to spawn in here. We did this for all 3 levels, and you can see it works pretty good with the goats hitting the witches and then them falling down these holes here, and then they get killed using max cramming with the minecarts down here. But unlike Zoglins, which aren't affected by the damage potions that the witches throw, the goats are. So you just seen what happened is the goat knocked one of the witches off, then the witch fell down here, and the goat was still within range, so that threw a potion at it and ended up killing it. Not only are Zoglins immune to the damage potions that these guys throw, but also the poison potions. Because of this, they will eventually die. Now we could try to fix this problem by having the witches fall straight down all the way to their death, rather than landing here because they slowly move away, giving them time to throw a potion. But even then, there is a chance that the witch is fast enough to turn around and throw a potion as it's falling downwards. Now besides this, we ran into a problem that witches were building up over time, as these screaming goats still have a cooldown, meaning that after they knock one witch off, about 10 seconds or less that they have to wait before they can knock another one off. And because they have to wait during that period, witches can still keep spawning in, and there can end up being an excess of witches in here. There's also another problem, which is if they try to go after a witch that then moves, where they are lining up to hit the witch, it's no longer there, and therefore they fail, and when they fail, they will just stop their ramming, and then they have a cooldown for a while before they attempt again. Now on top of that, you would also need to get screaming goats, which are only 2% chance, which means they're harder to find, unlike a Zoglin, which is just a hoglin that you brought over to Overworld. So for those reasons, they don't work well inside of a witch hut. So we went back to the drawing board and we hopped into this world here where I have all the different mobs in the game of Minecraft sorted by widest to thinnest and also tallest to shortest. This is also the world where I have all the different block sizes, top, bottom, and side. And I usually hop in here to get ideas. So we went in here looking at different mobs and thinking, well, could we possibly use it for this mob farm or that mob farm? When it comes to hostile mobs like zombies, skeletons, and zombie pigmen, they will try to attack the goat if they get damaged by it, which they will when they get burnt. Now, if the goat would happen to hit a mob that is protective of the rest of its kind, like wolves, you see that they will turn around and work as a pack to take out whoever hurt them. Now the goats themselves, when they get attacked, don't actually fight back. They just flee like any other passive mob that takes damage. So if I just go ahead and just punch this guy, you'll see what he does. He just flees around and randomly runs. So using goats to move hostile mobs might not be the best, because if they don't clear the mob away right away, the mob is going to come back and try to attack them. And then they will eventually get low health and die. Now there is some exceptions to this, such as creepers, which don't actually turn around and fight the goat or explode upon the goat. Another one of these unique mobs is the shulker. Now you can see these goats are trying to hit it, but the problem is they aren't actually doing any damage to it. Instead, they are just running up against it and hitting it. So if I remove the shulker, they are going to kind of get pushed right through it because they're still pushing on it. And there's also this weird thing with shulkers. When they open up, they can actually lift up mobs near them. You can see the goat is being lifted up a little bit off the ground. It's kind of weird, but they actually fixed this problem to do with the player in this occurring, but apparently it still works with some mobs. But the general problem with trying to have the goats knock hostile mobs away is that hostile mobs spawn into the game really quickly. And by having a lot of spawning space around the player, you can make extremely fast farms like I've shown in the past. So if we were to use it on one of these mobs, it would have to be a mob that spawns in quite slow. And that's why I tried it initially with a witch farm, because where they spawn inside the witch hut is a fairly small area, in hopes that they could keep up with the mob spawns. But even with such a small area as the witch hut, they still couldn't keep up, knocking them off the platform. And one mob that does spawn in fairly slowly is the ghast mob. Now with a ghast, we notice that the guys don't actually attack them. It might have to do because they are so big that they just don't even attempt to attack them, or they're not close enough to the ground to think that they can go after them. They will go through the motions like they want to ram something. Typically, if their head goes straight up really high in air, or if their head goes way low, those are signs they're about to do a ram. And every time they do one of these, they fail, and then they just reset and attempt to do it all over again. I don't think it'd be too effective towards the ghast anyways, because they would probably not move them very far. And unlike the zoglins, which are pretty aggressive and do a lot of damage, these guys don't do as much, and they mostly just use to move the mobs about. Now we also try to have the ghost attack the dragon itself. I have a command that just keeps teleporting him right over there. Problem is he has such a large collision, when the ghosts try to attack him, they end up just getting within his area where he damages them. And even if you like stick him over here, you can see he has pretty big collision area and he just shoves them away. Now we also put in some invulnerable goats, so goats that can't actually take any damage. You can see they are trying to get over there, but they're unable to even get close. We also had goats try to go after withers, but the problem is they only attack things that they can see the little red line with. So you can see they're attacking these endermen because they can see the line of sight. And the endermen of course will come back after them and kill them quite easily. But because we have this wither encased, he can't see them and they can't see him. Therefore, they don't attack each other. But if we release the wither, we got one right over here. And let's let him out. We do have a couple invulnerable goats in here. But we also made the ceiling low so the wither can't just fly up and escape the whole area. You can see they will hit the wither, but the wither is not going to attack them because they have the invulnerability tag. So this isn't typical to your survival world. Now for the other hostile mobs in the game, there's just other ways to move them and kill them. They're more effective than waiting for a goat to bump them off. The only benefit to using a goat would be that it would be maybe a redstone-less method, or maybe a more simpler method. Speed is definitely not it. If you take a look at the water creatures and the water ambients, they both spawn into the game fairly quickly as well. Even though they have low spawn numbers, if you put in a lot of spawning space, you will get large numbers of them to spawn in. Now passive mobs might be the only area that using goats would be successful, as passive mobs only spawn in every 20 seconds. They also have a fairly low mob cap, but just like the water mobs, they can spawn in a lot larger numbers if you have plenty of room for them to spawn in. And if you see my passive mob farms from the past, you know that I make them usually quite large for efficiency. And the smaller ones I make are typically easy to clear off the platform just by using water. Now the goats will go after mobs up to 16 blocks away, but it takes time for them to not only remove their cooldown, but also they need enough room to actually ram the mob. We did this test here where we had a goat, we had 5 blocks, and we had an armor stand. And this was about the smallest distance where he could notice a mob, also get enough room to back up and then ram it. So it does take quite a bit of room for them to just maneuver around. Where a hoglin, I can put that into a small space like in my witch farm or even in my gold farm. And he can attack stuff around him without needing a large amount of room to back up and charge stuff. Now we also noticed that the baby goats seem to have their cooldown really low so that they are able to bunt stuff like as soon as it comes available for them. But they can't really knock stuff back as far as the adults, but it's pretty cool. You can get some easy results. Now another thing we noticed during our testing is that they won't attack something that doesn't have blocks underneath of it. So like this armor stand here, you can see even though it's partly inside this block, the center of it is actually hanging over top of the air, so they won't attack this. There's also another strange thing what they do is even though they might try to be attacking that one, they'll end up attacking whatever entity is closest to them. So here you can see this goat is going to try to attack the one on the left, but he ends up hitting the one that is closest to him, despite that one being hanging over the edge, so technically he couldn't attack it. And now he retries and he actually hits the one he wants to. Now this might be a bug, but you can do some pretty cool stuff using it, making him actually attack stuff that he wasn't intending to. So there's a few constraints that prevent it from really being useful in a mob farm. Now we thought we could prevent the goats from falling off the edge just by putting them on leads, but they don't actually attempt to bunt. What I did in the witch farm is I actually put it in trap doors so that something like a witch, which is slightly smaller than a goat, could fall through this gap, where if a goat would come over here, you can see he can't fall through. Now ramming goats will still probably have their uses, especially in like mini games or just to have fun with them. But I'd love to know what you guys think about this. Do you think there will be any special case farm where goats will be useful or any mini games? Let me know all that down in the comments. Now we are still waiting for one of the prominent uses for a goat, which is to farm their horns off of them. It still hasn't came to the Java edition, so look forward to that. And if all else fails about these screaming goats and then ramming, you can still listen to their lovely screaming noises, which I have to admit during the entirety of the stream did get pretty annoying. If you'd like to learn about more cool tricks to do with the 1.17 snapshot, check out my playlist down in the description, where I show tons of different types of farms and machines that you can use. They're brand new to the 1.17. And if you learned something from this video, make sure to leave a like as well as share it, because that's the best way to tell the YouTube to show this video to more people. I would like to thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye!